My name is George Harlow. I've been curator of Minerals and Gems at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City since 1976. I actually retired in July, but I'm still working as an emeritus curator. So what is a curator? What does a curator do? A curator is somewhat analogous to a professor, at least in some of the bigger museums, in that I was hired to carry out research and take care of the mineral collection, serve the museum, and serve the public. So I needed to have a PhD in order to get the job. I have to say it's been an amazing career, and I couldn't have planned for it in advance. That shouldn't dissuade anybody, but the point is there are not a vast number of positions in the United States or North America, probably more when you consider the entire world. But it has been a unique opportunity to have such a life at an institution, a great institution like the one I'm at. But anyway, so how did I get there? After my undergraduate degree, I had a major in geosciences or geology, and decided to continue and get a PhD, in part because the Vietnam War was still on and I didn't want to become cannon fodder. But the actual opportunity came up mostly by word of mouth from my mentor at Princeton University, and it was close to New York, so I got to visit and lucked out and became the selected person to become a curator. So what does a curator do? So again, the primary responsibilities was to carry out scientific research, because my museum viewed someone capable of serving the institution had to be involved in what's going on in the science. Without that, they probably didn't have the capacity to do all that's really required. The second issue would be taking care of the collection. The American Museum has a large world-class collection, and it became my responsibility to look after its feeding and care. So I would try and make sure that we are adequately documenting everything, and would proceed to acquire new specimens. And that's a somewhat eclectic process at an institution like mine. Other museums might have a local focus, a regional focus, and would focus on minerals from their region. Because you're acquiring minerals, you really need to know a lot about both what minerals are and the species that exist, as well as their context in geology and the big world. And then that's part of the excitement of the job, is this getting to know much more about minerals and what they mean, as well as how they interpret our planet, or maybe even the universe. After that, I have to serve the museum, and the roles that serve the museum include handling exhibitions. So for example, I just completed, after virtually 7 years of work, new halls of minerals and gems at the museum. And that's my magnum opus. And it required integrating pretty much everything I learned from college through my total experience of 45 years at the museum. After that, so that's handling exhibitions. There are also temporary exhibitions. I've worked on several temporary exhibitions, some of them of my own design. That's one of the things that happens in a role like mine, is you actually come up with the ideas of things that are going to happen. So I did an exhibition on diamonds, did an exhibition on gold, participated in an exhibition on climate change. And those are all exciting topics. In addition to that, education. So I've taught at the museum, I've given lectures at the museum, I participated in an MAT program, Master of Arts in Teaching program that the museum still carries out. And so that, again, it integrates all your experience and tries to hand it on to the next generation of educators. One of the things that's critical is if you don't have passion in some fashion for your science that you are promoting, you're really not going to be a good teacher, at least not in my mind. Learning pedagogy is fine, but learning a subject is better. And the opportunity to teach from a museum really is quite large. In addition to teaching, you also teach the people who guide people around the museum so that they can be better informed about your halls and topics that are addressed in the hall, or even stories about the mineral specimens that you have there. So that's kind of the role that I play, and it's been a fabulous career, but there are other roles that people play with mineral and geological experience at museums. So typically there'll be a collections manager or somebody who has more day-to-day care of the mineral specimens. Typically a person like that has to have at least a bachelor's degree in geology or mineralogy or geosciences. And they really do the hands-on care and often do routine analysis, respond to queries from the public, do the databasing and imaging required to adequately manage a mineral collection. And so that's one of the opportunities that's probably even larger than for being a curator at a museum. After that, there are the educators themselves. So in our museum, we have at least 3 or 4 PhD level geologists who are in our education department and handle the teaching of mainly of other educators, either within the institution or of the local school systems. Most museums really serve the community by having students come through the museum, come through programs at museums, sometimes summer programs, sometimes enrichment programs for high school students. So there are a lot of opportunities there. And so I think that's a kind of a round story of what the opportunities are museums. Now, there are not a vast number of museums, but typically there's a fair rotation at the various levels within them. So for anybody who has an interest in mineralogy and geosciences, keep this idea open that it's an opportunity outside of academia, out of normal academia, even though it is a part of academia, to continue your own education and to reach out and enrich the life of students and the public in general. Certainly, exhibition halls are the way that many people to learn about minerals and learn about what the importance of minerals are, how they're a part of the great story of our planet. And so participating in that can be very enriching. I certainly feel that I had an extraordinary career and opportunities to do research, to see the world, because for geologists, I believe the earth is our oyster, and visiting and learning and collecting are the ways to enhance that for yourself and for society.